Welcome to the Empower Her Wellness Podcast. I'm Morgan, and I'm thrilled to be your host and wellness coach as we navigate the path to a healthier, more confident you. As the owner of Get Fit With Me, I bring years of experience in personal training, nutrition, and coaching to each episode. Join me as we explore practical tips and strategies for fitness, nutrition, mindset, and more, all tailored for busy women just like you. Let's empower your wellness journey and achieve lasting transformation together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Empower Her Wellness Podcast. I am your coach and host, Morgan Ekovich, and I am super excited for today's conversation. Earlier this week, I actually went out and I participated in a bunch of different networking opportunities, checked out a few different groups, did a speed networking event, and one of the common questions that came up that I thought would be fantastic for a podcast episode is, okay, you're an online personal trainer, you're a nutrition coach, you help with accountability, but where would I start? Where would we start if we worked together? I love that. And that's why today's topic is taking it back to the basics, because in reality, let's be honest, no matter who you are, no matter what age you are, there are basics in life that we need to be doing for our health and wellness consistently every single day. And we typically are not doing it. We are not tracking to decide if it's happening or not. We are just saying, yeah, I do it all the time. But we're not actually crystal clear. So we're going to take it back to the basics today. We're going to talk about 4 things that you can do to take it back to the basics. We're going to also talk a little bit about micro habits and why each of these basics are going to start really small and build and how they're going to do that. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to first start with hydration. Hydration is that first basic that we're going to take it back to. And some of you may be phenomenal at water and you have mastered that basic. Awesome. Just listen, stick around. Maybe you'll get some other tips and we'll see if tip number 2 is a little bit more helpful for you. But for hydration, one of the things that happens is we hear you should drink a gallon, you should drink half your body weight, you should be doing 100 ounces, 90 ounces, 60 ounces. There's so much out there. Before you go and start drinking a crap ton of water and find yourself in the bathroom every 20 minutes, figure out how much you are actually drinking on average. So log your water for 3 to 5 days. Find the average, add them all up, divide it by however many days you tracked, and it's going to tell you your average. If that average is something that, let's say 50 ounces, take that average and do that for a week and a half. If that is something that after a week and a half is actually pretty easy, increase it by only 10 ounces. We're not going to increase by a whole water bottle. Increase by 10 ounces. Do that for another week, week and a half. Ask yourself the same question. Was that easy or challenging? Did I do it every single day or did I do it 75% of the time? If it was hard or you only did it 75% of the time, you did not do it 100% of the time, right there, I want you to stick at that 60 ounces. Stick there until you are 90% of the time, 90, 95. Because in reality, consistency is not doing the same thing every single day, but it's at least, especially when we're starting a habit, being as close to that 100% as possible, because we have to reframe that mindset. We have to get ourselves in a routine and a rhythm. We have to make it so we are doing it subconsciously rather than consciously. So let's say you get up to 60. You're feeling good. A couple weeks go by. You're ready to increase another 10. Here's the thing. Some people, there's 2 different ways you can measure your water. According to everything I've read, you either track it by half your body weight in ounces, or for women, it's 60 to 90. For men, it's 90 to 120. Personally, for myself, and this is where these recommendations always have that little asterisk next to them, because we are all made different. We all have different things that make our body feel good. For you, it may be 10 minutes of movement. For me, it may be 30 minutes of movement. And yes, there's a recommendation of 150 minutes of movement a week, but that may not be where my body is at that time. So same thing goes for water. I know for me, 90 to 120 ounces is my sweet spot. And there's some days where hitting that 90 is all my body needs, and that is challenging. I know some days where I need that 120 and I am crushing through my water. I give myself a range, but I've built up to that. I started really low at what my average was. Honestly, it was a 32-ounce water bottle. And then I slowly built up my water tolerance and I felt more hydrated. And I was able to not have to be in the bathroom every 20 minutes. So, with that, start with the basics. Figure out what your average is. Stay at that average for a week, week and a half. If that felt easy, increase it by just 10 ounces. If it did not feel easy, or you did not get at least 75% of the days, actually 90% of the days, that's what I said. If you only did it 75% of the time, that is technically hard. I want you to keep doing that. Keep drinking at that amount of ounces before you increase. Little tip, when I track, I pre-track my water. So every time one of these is filled up, I track it. The only time I do not pre-track is if it's like 6 or 7 at night and I get ready to fill one of these up. That is because I know I cannot drink a 32-ounce water bottle at 6 or 7 at night and not have to get up in the middle of the night to go through. So all day long, as soon as I fill it up, I track it in my phone. That is incentive for me to finish the water bottle. The other thing is at night, I fill it up, and right before I go to bed or I lay down is when I get a sense of, did I drink half? Did I drink a quarter? Did I drink the whole thing? Then I after track. You can do whatever works best for you. I just use MyFitnessPal for my water as of now because I've been tracking my food. So it's not something I use all the time. I typically use my Fitbit app. So if you've got an iPhone, I think honestly all of our smartphones now have a water tracking or a health app on there. So you can track it on there. You can also download a fun app where when you input your water, you like water a plant. There's a ton of different things. So hydration is basic number one. If you have not mastered hydration, you shouldn't be focusing on anything else right now. Hydration is the easiest thing because it takes no extra time out of your day. So after you've mastered hydration, you are feeling confident. We are going to move into intentional movement. An intentional movement is defined in my eyes as movement that you have intentionally set out to do that is outside of your daily routine. So, for instance, let's say you're getting ready to go to the mall and you intentionally park on the other side of the mall from this other side of the mall and your store from where your store is because you are going to make sure you get extra steps in. You are consciously making that choice. You getting housework done because it's a normal routine, but you're moving, I don't count that because it's something subconscious. It's something you're already been doing for a while. Intentional movement can look like, oh, I'm going to go out and play with the kids. We're going to go throw the football or kick the soccer ball around. Intentional movement can be like, I'm going to get up this hour and I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. It can mean I'm going to do 10 push-ups, 10 body weight squats, and repeat that circuit for 10 minutes. And you've heard me say the word 10 minutes a lot, or the time 10 minutes. The reason being is intentional movement. I always tell people to start really small. Start with a time that is manageable for you because exercise and working out does not have to look a certain way. You do not have to wear workout clothes. You do not have to make sure you break a sweat. It does not have to be a certain intensity. It does not have to be a certain length of time. You do not have to go to the gym to make it happen. But sometimes it's hard to get our mind around that. So we've just flipped the script. We're calling it intentional movement. And if I can get you to start intentionally moving your body every single day for 10 minutes, when you are ready to start implementing strength training, cardio, flexibility and mobility, things like that, you're going to be more interested and excited to do it because you've already built up a little habit of moving your body every day and seeing the results that just moving 10 minutes is going to be. With this intentional movement, start with 10 minutes. After that, if you're feeling like you're doing well, you can bump it up to 12 minutes or 15 minutes. Same concept applies here with the water. We have to do it consistently for, I say movement is like a 2-week time period is what I find is easiest for people. After 2 weeks, reassess, easy, hard. Did I do it every day? Did I do it 80% of the time? Did I do it 75% of the time? Like, where were you? If you consistently did it 90% of the time or more, and it was easy, you can take that time up. If you did not do that, you're going to stay where you are until you are in that 90%. So intentional movement is number 2. Back to the basics. Once you've mastered water, it's time to move. Once we have mastered moving and our hydration, it's time to look at our diet. And the reason I put this as number 3 is this is something that I tend to get a lot of pushback on when clients are not ready to take this step. And when we work one-on-one, what this looks like is we figure out what your starting place is. It may not be hydration, it may be nutrition, it may be exercise, it may be stress, it may be sleep. It could be whatever category you need to start at. But this is more of a general that if you are not doing these basics, you need to be doing them. So, when we are sitting here and we are talking about nutrition, first thing we should always do, and I talked about this in one of our earlier podcasts, is before you make any changes, you need to track your food for at least a week. Do not change your diet, but track your food for at least a week. From there, I want you to point out all the amazing things you did of, oh, I had fruits and veggies, I had some protein, I ate at home. Find all the things you did really well at. And then find a few things that you think you could improve on. I do free food log audits. So if you are interested in one, go to the show notes, send me an email, and I will give you more details on what that looks like. Super simple, but if you're interested, send me an email. But okay, so you're looking at the things that are things you could improve on. Maybe you see you're not getting any vegetables. I see that a lot with clients. That's where we're going to keep today's conversation. Is if you notice you're not getting any vegetables in, or you're getting one vegetable in on like Sunday night, but you're not getting a fist-size serving of vegetables in, at least one per day, that is where you're going to start. So from there, we are going to want to make sure that you've planned to make sure you have vegetables on hand. You have a list of your favorite vegetables or the vegetables you will tolerate eating. And your goal is to do one fist-size serving of vegetables every single day until it becomes something super easy for you. Once it's become something super easy for you, then you can make it 2 fist-size servings. It does take us being super conscious of this. So, for instance, I'm getting ready to go to a concert this weekend. I know that I will not have any vegetables at that concert. Can guarantee that. We are taking a veggie tray to the tailgate. I also chose that because I know that I needed to get my vegetables in that day. So I am consciously making these choices, planning ahead of time. And that's part of the reason why I leave nutrition till kind of that third basic, because it does take a little bit more mindset. It takes a little bit more preparation. And I want you to be successful. Same concept applies those. I do like the concept of 2 weeks though, just like we had for intentional movement, of if you are doing it for at least 2 weeks and it is easy and you're hitting above 90% of consistency, then you can take it up. If you are not doing either of those, you are staying exactly where you're. And vegetables is just the example. This can look for protein, it can look like for fiber, it can look like for fruit. We can go back to the basics on all of these. And we'll have an episode down the road going into kind of the bare minimum type of nutrition you should be focusing on every single day, rather than I feel like I have to do all these things. So that fourth category that we're going to talk about, or that fourth back to the basic thing that we're going to talk about today, is celebrating your wins. And this is something that I recommend doing for at least 90 days before you kind of change it up. And the reason I say 90 days is I do 90-day check-ins. I believe 90-day check-ins are phenomenal. They're quarterly. A lot of us do yearly goals or half-year goals, and that's just not enough time for me. Like it's too much time, I should say. It's too much time in between setting the goal and seeing how I'm doing. So I do 90 days. And I think 90 days are great because we set a goal and at the end of each month we reassess, but I stick to the same exact habit for 90 days. So with that, when you celebrate your wins, it can look like writing it down in a notebook. It can be putting it in a planner. It can be typing it up in your notes, sending it to a friend, texting it to yourself. It can look whatever way is best for you, as long as you are tracking it. Your one win every single day, even on the days that are freaking hard, you don't think there's anything to celebrate that day because it was the most terrible, awful day in the world. There is something in there, and I need you to find it. Doesn't have to be health and fitness related. It can be personal, it can be business, it can be family, relationships, it can be all these things. It does not just have to be your health and wellness. Do I recommend health and wellness ones? Yes, because we tend to rely on the scale or numbers so much for if we're seeing results. These little wins will help you see results. For instance, when you've started to master your hydration, you may notice that your joints are more loose and lubricated. You may notice that your skin is less dry. You may notice that your lips are less chapped. Those are wins. For intentional movement, you may notice that your body's less achy throughout the day, that maybe those pants are fitting a little bit looser because you're moving more than you were before. Maybe for that nutrition, a win you have is, I actually got my vegetable in early in the day instead of skipping it because I knew I was going to be gone in the evening. Like, those are wins. And I want you to celebrate those because those are things that, honestly, we get caught in. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. They are freaking huge big deals. And it's important that you acknowledge them, that you write them down. Anytime I work with a client, we do an orientation form. And that orientation form not just asks for starting weight and measurements because, yeah, we need the data. But I always ask, how do you feel physically? How does your body feel physically? How does your body feel emotionally? How does your body feel mentally? How is your sleep? How is your stress on a level of 1 to 10? These are things that we can also measure our success and our results. And when we dial in these basics and we master these basics, everything else we add on to is easy because we have mastered our basics. So I hope you took at least one thing from today's podcast and you noticed that maybe you're doing really good at the basics for 1 or 2 of these, but there's 2, maybe even 3 that you could work on. I'm going to take it back to the beginning. I said 4 things today. Pick one. Pick one of these to start with. Once you feel like you have mastered it, I will be checking in because I highly recommend you go to the show notes, jump in our free Facebook group, and do a post that says, I am committing to the basics of hydration. I'm committing to the basics of intentional movement. I'm committing to the basics of nutrition. I'm committing to the basics of celebrating my wins. Put that in there and I will hold you accountable. I'll reach out. I'll ask how it's going. Once you have created that basic, once you're feeling really good with your hydration, and it's been, say, 60 days, let's add on another one. After another 60 days, let's add on another one. It is a slow process, and I am pre-framing that now. It is a slow process, but it is a process that will last a lifetime. And remember, it's taken us this long to want to make a change that will last a lifetime. These changes will not happen overnight. You did not gain the weight overnight. You are not going to lose it overnight. You did not lose your mobility overnight. You're not going to gain it overnight. We have to get out of our heads of it being a quick fix, something that's going to happen immediately, something that's even going to happen in a month. That's why we celebrate those little wins, because those little wins build into those big wins. So with that, make sure to tune in next week for another episode here on the Empower Her Wellness podcast and to check out the show notes. Jump in the Facebook group, call your shot. I will hold you accountable. And if you would like a food log audit to figure out where you want to start, it's easy. Shoot me an email. Say I'd like a food log audit. Food log audit. Tell me more, and I will do that. So until next time, I'll talk to you later. Thank you for listening to the Empower Her Wellness podcast. I hope you feel more empowered and ready to tackle your wellness goals. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to send me a message. Make sure to subscribe and leave a review to help us reach more women just like you. Until next time, take control of your wellness and keep empowering yourself every day.